Hiya and welcome back to my TR6 restoration channel. After last week's saga with the windscreen frame and put me on a downer and like I wanted to throw the car away and whatever, I've now managed to sort it out and it's fitting, not 100%, but it's a good sort of 90% good fit on the rubber now at the base there. I've got to learn to accept that there's sometimes you just got to kind of walk away from something and think, right, that's as best as it can be, and forget trying to make something perfect, which kind of goes against my nature. Having said that, it's finally done, which means I can now move forward with my aim of trying to finish this car for Christmas, and that's only 4 weeks left. But I reckon if I put in really good hard work and some long hours, there's still a possibility. So today I want to fit this, which is the air intake for the throttle housings. Now this was quite manky when I took it off, and so I stripped it right back down to metal and given it this coat, and I don't know if the camera picks it up well enough, what they call wrinkle finish, wrinkle paint or wrinkle finish paint, get your words out. This is such a good product. It's come out amazingly, like so good that I want to do loads of things with this, but it wouldn't be right. But anyway, so I've redone this and it looks like brand new. Then I went a little step further, and where I'd painted the whole thing, I got a little block of wood with a bit of sandpaper on it and rubbed away at the lettering and brought up the Triumph, and I can't tell you how happy that made me. Now that I've got all the wings on sort of semi-permanently, they still need adjusting. It was time for me to add some sealer between the joints. Going down along here, along the back as well, and the same for the other side. In a normal situation, I would have done that first and then sprayed the car, but because I'm taking panels home, spraying them and coming and fitting them back on again, I've ended up with these sort of black lines all over the place. But that ain't too much of a problem, because what I'll do is I'll mix up a little bit of paint and with a paintbrush just touching along those black lines and they won't even show. So at the moment I'm the only one in the garage. It's 6:30, everyone's gone home, and I thought I'd have a go at putting on the bonnet. It's a bit of a crappy job to do as a one man, but somehow I reckon I'm going to manage to do it. And what I've done, what I was told is the best way to do it is bolt the hinges onto the bonnet and then put the bonnet with the hinges onto the engine bay. In an ideal world, someone on that side would be helping me just to lower this in, but I'm not in an ideal world situation at the moment, so I just have to go for it. Thing is, at the moment, I can't see where I am. I can't see whereabouts the bonnet is, and right now what is it banging on? Or am I scratching the wings? That weren't too bad, other than nearly guillotining off my fingers. So now I'll bolt the hinges to the inside of the bay there, and well, then that's done. Well, that's the bonnet screwed in place, although it's going to need quite a bit of adjustment to get the gaps as best as these TR6s can do. But it's really nice to see this thing on there finally. It's like, it's almost getting to the point where I feel I might be able just to jump in it and drive it away. Hi, finally back working on the TR6 after sort of 7 or 8 weeks of refurbishing a flat. So my aim of finishing this car off by Christmas has sadly been missed, but maybe I can get it finished by the end of February. So my aim is to get the car started this week. It's Monday at the moment, the 30th of February. So my plan is to get the car started running by the end of this week. So to do that, one of the biggest headaches I've got is the fuel injection system, which is something I don't quite understand. I've got this unit here. This is a replacement from the original because the original was leaking, and it turned out this one was leaking, so that was a stupid story. Anyway, so what I've done is I've ordered all new rubbers for it. It's diaphragms that go in there, and O-rings, and as you can see there, maybe not, that need to go on there, and then setting up the timing on this thing, which is kind of confusing. I downloaded some documents off of the internet here which sort of show you the positions of the rotor, which are good and bad, and where the distributor's got to be set up to. It's like, it's kind of overwhelming for me. As someone, like most typical blokes, the first thing you do with an instruction sheet is sort of chuck it over your shoulder because you think you can do it by yourself. So me trying to follow instructions in the manual is killing me at the moment. But I did, as those who've been following me, initially get it started a long time ago, and I had to sort of set this thing up, and so I've got to try to follow the same procedure again, and hopefully it will start up again. Only this time I've had the engine apart, I've taken everything off it, and now I've got to rebuild it back up and hope that it fires. So there's the plan for this week. Now this can only go in one way. Just like that. Having said that, I think I might have to connect the pipes for the injectors first, because those two there are in a very awkward place. So start again. Right, let's have another go. So what it is you can see that these two behind here, they're on banjo fittings, which are a lot more profile than, say, perhaps these ones here. So that's possibly why you meant to put them on beforehand. So now that I've got the metering unit secured in, putting on the distributor cap, just put new cables on it, I'll go ahead and put the spark plugs in, connect all that lot up, and then proceed to drop the injectors in. I've now connected all the injector pipes, put the injectors in, all the spark plug leads are in, and anything else that I think might be relevant to starting this car now. And I'm just about to fill it with oil, top up the, never mind top up, put some water in there because there's no water inside the engine either, and I'm going to give it a go at starting it today. I'm not confident because I really took this thing apart, and whether everything's gone back exactly, more to do with timing, I think, is what my issue's going to be than anything else. But nevertheless, the plan is at least to turn over the key and see how it goes. It hasn't even reached the dipstick. Okay, perfect. You won't see that probably in the camera, but I've just got it right between the two lines. So we've got enough oil in the car. This is an initial mix of antifreeze and water. I hope I've tightened up everything. I have double checked everything, but yeah.
This switch, it's burning.
Which one? Right, so that's the cooling system topped up. It'll probably need another little top up once the engine has been turned over a few times. The next thing to do is fill the tank up, but I've got a gallon of petrol to put in a petrol tank and see what happens there. I was going to put a little bit in and check it, but now just going for it. Right, so there's a gallon of petrol. Most of it is in the tank, and the rest of it is over this boot lid. In reality now, there's nothing to stop me from turning this thing over to see if it fires. So I'm just going to have a once over in the engine bay again to make sure everything is fine. And I'm going to connect the battery up if it hasn't gone flat after all this time and see if it fires up. I'm not going to tighten up the battery for now. Switch on the ignition and see what happens. Well, I've got no ignition lights, but the car went to turn over. I don't know why I've got no lights on though. Now I'll recheck the engine bay for any leaks of fuel. Right, there are no leaks anywhere. At this point, I don't know if I've got fuel coming up, but I'm going to turn it over a few more times before I check for fuel. Maybe that it's my wishful thinking, but it almost seems like it wants to catch. Or maybe I'm just wrong. So what I'm going to do now is undo the fuel line coming out of the metering unit, going into the throttle housings, and that will tell me if I've got fuel coming up. I've just grabbed an old spark plug. I'll pull out one of these, plug that in, metal. I'll turn it over now and see if I can see a spark. No, there's definitely no spark on that, so I've got to investigate the ignition system. Right, after messing around with it for ages, what it turns out is I had the connections the wrong way round coming out of the alternator, where one of them should have gone to the coil, and I mistook that one and connected it somewhere else. Anyway, so I've now just looked at the wiring diagram, seen where they've got to go, and here's the result. I've just clamped the mole grip there so that it the spark plug will sit on the earth, and when I turn it over, I don't know if that was visible, but there actually is a spark on the spark plug. So what that means now is I can connect the spark plug back up and have another go at starting it, and if it doesn't start this time, I've got to start looking at petrol problems. Right, so let's have another go at firing this thing. Well, Well, still nothing. I'll have a look and see if the petrol is coming up to the metering unit to begin with. Let's check that. Right, I've just realised the petrol pump was switched off. This little unit here is a safety gadget, which, so if anything, if in the case of an accident, this thing switches the petrol off, the pump off. So I've just realised that was on the off position, so I've now switched it on and have another go at starting it. Still no joy, so I'll start testing with an electrical tester to see if I've got power at the pump and follow that electricity up to wherever it leads me. So here's both a stupid thing and a positive thing. If I move all this stuff out of the way, you'll see that the pump isn't connected. So both embarrassing but a bit of a relief as well. So I've now got to sort out where the other end of that is meant to go in and connect it up, and then perhaps we'll get some petrol. Right, so the pump is now connected. I had to change one of the connections because this wasn't the original pump. The original one wasn't working, and do remember when we initially started the car up for like 10 seconds before, I had to bridge these wires together. So I've now put proper connections in there and just ready to have a go at it, I suppose. Right, I can now hear the pump. Maybe let's give it a moment for the petrol to come up. So it's still not starting, just off camera. Put a bit of damp start inside the throttle bodies and it was trying to start, but it was only trying to start off of the damp start. It wasn't trying to run from the fuel coming in here. Since then we've cracked open the pipe which goes to the metering unit to check that the petrol is coming up, and it is. Then beyond that we undone one of the leads which feeds the one of the injectors to see if petrol's coming up the other side of the metering unit, and yes it is. But what we're not getting is from the metering unit to the injectors any petrol at the moment. Now, somewhere in my head, I'm either making this up or there's some sort of truth to it. It's got to build up pressure inside the pipes so that it works basically. I don't know, it works sort of under pressure, so maybe I've just got to keep on turning it over until it starts, and then the pressure builds up and then it will start after that. So I'll just carry on turning it over for now and see what happens. Right, it's another day. I spent the rest of last night trying to deal with the leaks that I've got on the metering unit. I've managed to stop the leak on the pressure relief valve at the back of the car now, and just trying to find out why the metering unit was leaking. So I've taken the whole thing off, checked the rubber seal on it to make sure that was alright, seemed alright. I went to put it back together and this happened. So these two bits come apart. This is the distributor holder which bolts onto the side of the metering unit. It probably didn't seat properly, maybe the this part of it didn't seat into the area it was meant to seat in, and tighten this up. This, because it's just cast, it's cracked off. So there was a moment there where I'm standing there staring at it for about a minute and just thinking, like, I'm about to annihilate this car. I'm about to write off every bit of work I've done on this car because I've really reached my limit. I'm completely spent. I can't tell you how much I want to get rid of this car. And honestly, if someone gave me what it stands me in, forget all the hours and hours which amount to days and weeks of labour I spent on this, I just want all my money back now. But you know what, that's not going to happen. No one's going to buy a car mid-project like this, I'm sure. Although, you know what, someone will buy this, spend another 1,500 quid in parts and end up making £7,000–8,000 in profit on it. Anyway, having said that, I went home and I did have a spare metering unit. I always had a spare metering unit, it came with the car, but wasn't sure if it had the pedestal with it. I went home and there was a pedestal there. So I've now swapped it over, built the metering unit back up more carefully this time. I've just put it back on the car, bolted everything back up, and I'm ready to try and fire it up again. Keep your fingers crossed this time. Still nothing. So basically what I'm doing is grabbing the fuel injector. On the end here there's a little pin and fuel came out of that. That one didn't spray as much as it should have done. Yep, that one's spraying. Let's try again firing it up. I've just sprayed some damp start in there. I'm going to give it another go. That was with a damp start. That almost sounded positive. I'm constantly checking for leaks. I've just seen another leak on the back where the pressure release valve is. There's a pipe there that didn't have a Jubilee clip. Doesn't look like it's ever had a Jubilee clip. Anyway, I've put a Jubilee clip on there, sealed that up. And this easy start is helping it try to fire. But as soon as it's used up the easy start, it stops again. Could it be that timing is out? Or my brother said warm up the spark plugs. Maybe I'll do that. Try it.
You see that backfire?
Yeah.
That's timing.
I thought so.
That's timing. That's why I'd have to in there.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe half the problem is timing.
Yeah, that's why that's popping back like that. That's
so I should undo the distributor a little bit and move it one way or another.
Yeah, that's timing.
Alright. It's got to be the first time I've smiled in a couple of days. It's looking positive. No fuel coming out of the metering unit still. So yeah, as you might have heard there, my brother reckons timing. So I'm going to undo the distributor and don't know which way round to move it, but because I don't really understand distributors.
No, let's go.
Yeah.
Loosen the distributor up.
Yeah.
And then crank it over, and then I'll turn it one way as you're cranking it, then the other way, and see if it gets better or worse.
It's going to be.
So have you moved it at all?
No, it's where it was.
So hang on.
Because I got it set up to point into piston one, so it could
spin
be
it over
a little bit out.
Okay, let's see if it makes.
Battery's running out of.
No, I thought that was going to fire up then.
Yeah.
I want to touch this way, that way there. I thought, do you know what? Yeah, see that backfire, that's what that is. And that one did as well, but it's really hard to get it right without...
I forgot to bring the straw, have a look for the strobe, I forgot again. But although we need it running to strobe it done.
Well, you can get a little bit of a read on it.
And there you go, it's done. It's now Thursday. Stayed here last night and still never managed to get the car started. And your brother mentioned to me, or well, he asked me, have you adjusted the tappets on it? The cylinder head came back from the guys who refurbished it, and I've just bunged it back on without adjusting them. So, bearing in mind there's new valve seats that have gone on there, God knows what, the valves have got to be right, haven't they? And maybe that's the problem. Maybe valves are staying open when it's sparking, which is why I'm getting a flashback coming out of the throttle housing. So that's the route I'm going to take today. Right, so I've adjusted the tappets and they were right out. So I'm hoping that is the problem, or has been one of the problems. Everything else is connected, so I'm ready to have another go at starting it.
I don't know why that revved up like that, but
No, I
don't
don't
rev too much, it's cold still.
Yeah,
Wow, didn't sound too bad. Time is out.
yeah. Otherwise it's working. It started, finally. Prior to it starting, we were trying to get it going, and there was arcs of electricity jumping between the various components and the body. Turns out that the earth strap wasn't tightened down enough. It's just been one thing after another. Anyway, I've tightened down the earth strap, we've had another go. As you see, it started, but it just kind of wanted to keep on revving. I don't know what that's about, but it's a lot of grief, but I'm getting there. The choke cable is unconnected because there's a clip missing. It's got to be here somewhere, but I've got boxes and boxes of stuff. It's a tiny little thing. And when my brother held the choke open earlier on, that's when it seemed to fire up okay. We'll try to lock it in some sort of midpoint and have another go. Alright, so I think kind of established it's some sort of a choke problem now. I'll rummage through my bits and pieces and see if I can get that set up. I envisaged that once this car started I'd be doing triple somersaults, but I think I'm just so worn out from it that I'm kind of devoid of any emotion at all at the moment. Yeah, I'm happy it started, but it's not like punching the bonnet or anything like that. It's killing me. So finally it's the end of the day. It's just gone 5 o'clock now. It's Thursday and the car starts. So my aim of getting the car, getting the engine running by the end of the week has been fulfilled. It's running rough, but I've since started it and it seems to be almost sorting itself out. I've just checked all the injectors for a good spray fan and they're all squirting out the petrol perfectly, so I'm happy with that. So it seems that it's more than likely a timing problem that's going to need to be addressed. But here's one more view of the engine running. So there you have it, TR6 engine, which has been to hell and back. Not quite back from hell, but it has definitely been to hell, and is now alive again, albeit it needs a little bit of doctoring to get it perfect. The main thing is there are no big ends knocking or anything like that. That was going to be my biggest fear, because even when I initially started it, I literally started it for about 10 seconds back when I bought it. I'm confident now that I can finish this car, and for all the moaning that I do on my videos, and you lot must be so fed up with this crybaby, just shut up, will ya? Yeah. But it becomes a little bit too much at times, and I'm not the most patient of people at all. So when things don't go my way, I do tend to throw my toys out of the pram. Having said that, you go through all of that, and then there's the reward. You know, this is all good for me. I can work with this from here onwards. So that's all for this video. It's a little bit longer than usual, and for those of you who lasted this long, thank you. And hopefully see you next week with some more positive outcomes.